Believe it or not, suicide is actually illegal, and you could get arrested and charged with attempt of murder, which doesn't really make much sense, but fortunately for us, only a small amount of countries have this law in place. Hello my soon-to-be ex-convicts, welcome back to a last resort at some sort of rehabilitation. I apologize in advance for my suspicious and weird behavior. I'm just here to tell you a story about how my suicide attempt eventually led to my arrest. Most of you are probably wondering if suicide is illegal due to the fact that it's a victimless crime, to an extent, and in most places it isn't. So if you tried to take your own life, there wouldn't be any legal consequences, partly due to the fact that it's caused by a mental illness, and the only person you're putting in harm's way is yourself. Although assisted suicide is still considered to be very illegal, you get charged with something as high as murder for just being in the same room as someone who took their own life. I remember watching a documentary about a young man who committed suicide in a motel room by himself instead of surrounded by his family who knew about his condition. And I think the law doesn't really sympathize or understand people who are suicidal and need some sort of escape. I don't encourage suicide at all, but there are specific exceptions to this that more people need to raise awareness on.
I understand suicide is bad. I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm not saying life sucks, you're screwed, yada yada, let's all jump off bridges. Anyone who knows me knows I advocate treatment. I'm still going, even though I'm incredibly screwed up. I'm like quivering from the pain, man. Jeez Louise.
No one wants to lose a friend, absolutely. But just seeing the pain that he was in, to be like, don't do this, it would be selfish on my part. And it wouldn't be right for me to be like, no, you have to stay because I can't handle you leaving. Thanks. Like, that's just the ultimate form of selfishness.
That's why psychiatric facilities and 72-hour holds exist. These places can hold you against your will for up to 3 days if you're feeling suicidal. It's meant to give you time to reflect and settle down before making such a drastic choice. And for those of you that are unaware, a 5150 basically means that law enforcement can take you into a mental facility if they think that you're a danger to yourself or anyone around you due to signs of a mental disorder. I was actually arrested on a 5150, and that's an experience that I will never forget. I had just finished overdosing, and I had a family member holding me down while the police was on their way to arrest me. Once they arrived, I was handcuffed and dragged to the back of a police car until the ambulance arrived. Then after getting checked, an officer was forced to ride in the ambulance with me, and as soon as I got to the hospital, I was under suicide watch. I was treated as if I was a criminal, and looking back on it, I understand why. I was a danger to myself and everyone around me. I wasn't even in the right state of mind, and all they were trying to do was just keep everyone safe, including myself. And if you're going to attempt to take your own life, please be aware that this will be something that you might have to face. And in order to avoid that, I suggest seeking help before things even escalate to that point. While in the hospital, I met so many of the people that were going through similar things as me, and they were all there on a 5150, but most of them were minors, so they were forced to be there for longer than 72 hours. The reason why I'm even bringing this up is because one of my friends there actually told me a pretty funny story, which looking back on it was actually kind of twisted. But after getting released from the mental hospital, he basically got in trouble with law enforcement, and he was afraid that he was going to get sent back to the mental hospital. So in order to not get sent back, he said, if you send me back, I'll kill myself. Which meant he had to get sent back. And yeah, pretty funny, right? How was that? Was that funny? You sure?
Yeah.
I felt like that was so awkward. You didn't. I didn't see an emotion on your face.
I'm trying to be quiet.
Okay, but okay, yeah. Even though that experience is very traumatizing, I cannot say that I would still be here without it. I was not only arrested on a 5150 once, twice, or 3 times, but it happened almost constantly. Whenever I would get out of the hospital, nothing would change. Everything that I learned there and the community and friendships that I built there did not last outside of those walls. And I would just come back to the same toxic environment with the same toxic people. And that really ended up getting to me until I realized that the thing that I needed to do was fix myself and get rid of all the distractions that were keeping me in that same toxic mindsets. In all honesty, I really encourage each and every one of you that is struggling with a mental disorder to admit yourself to a psychiatric facility, because for me, it was a bittersweet moment in my life that I will never forget. The friendships, the memories, and the encouragement that I received from not only the staff, but my friends there is honestly something that kept me going in the worst time of my life. As I mentioned earlier, I was not only arrested on a 5150 once, but multiple times, and the most traumatizing experience out of all of them was sitting alone in my room, completely dark, no one around, everyone asleep, and I was actually thinking about hanging myself. I had a belt that I was going to use, but I don't know what came over me. I just remembered everything that I learned in the mental hospital, and I decided to reach out instead of doing something impulsive. So I go outside my room and talk to my parents. Then I end up just coming back feeling worse. And my parents, instead of coming inside my room to comfort me, they called the police. And just imagine it, complete darkness, no one around, and then you hear a knocking on the door. The first thing they say is, "Where is he?" They come inside my room, open the door, and I'm just sitting there on my chair, just in front of the door. And I told them that I was not going to hurt myself, that I'm trying to use the techniques that I learned at the hospital. But I remember specifically him looking at me, and then I don't know if I looked down at my belt or he did, but he looked down at the belt and said that he wasn't taking any chances, and took me out of my room in the police car and drove me to the psychiatric facility once again. But anyways, I hope you all stay safe and out of handcuffs. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.